is Rivalry Week here in the Big Easy, where one of football's oldest feuds takes center stage. The Saints and Falcons begin battle today for critical ground in the NFC South. New Orleans arrives with a defense built to disrupt and an offense finding its rhythm, and Atlanta answers with explosive weapons and a quarterback eager to make a statement. Division rivalry games rewrite expectations, and Saints Falcons always delivers on the drama. Welcome in. It is Saints Game Day Live here from Caesars Superdome as the Saints get ready to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Joined as always by former Saints linebacker, Super Bowl champion Scott Shanley. And Scott, Saints come in 2-8 off their bye week. Atlanta Falcons come in 3-7 on the season. Both teams played Carolina in their last game. The Saints won 17-7 in Carolina. 2 weeks ago, the Falcons lost to the Panthers 30-27 in overtime. That loss was Atlanta's fifth in a row in a season that they thought would be really promising that sort of unraveled. Meanwhile, the Saints look and feel like a team that's starting to put things together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Carolina game was a barometer, especially playing 1 week apart. Saints played their best game in a long time against the Carolina team that a lot of people don't give enough credit for that win. That team was rolling, won 4 games in a row, came off a win in Lambeau. Saints go in there and played their best game. And then last week you watched the same Carolina team go in and throw the ball all over the yard on the Atlanta defense. So I think when you look at this Atlanta team, they have to be frustrated. They started off the season with a lot of high hopes. A lot of people picked them to win in the NFC South. And it's just been 5 losses in a row, to your point, and they just can't figure anything out, and now they have injury concerns.
All right, before we get into the matchups in today's game, I just want to ask you, as a player, how does the Atlanta game, especially here in New Orleans, feel different than other games?
Oh, it's different. It's different. And I think for me, when we all got here with Sean Payton in 2006, a lot of us were new. We didn't understand the rivalry. Quickly, the city let us know. It's not so much Saints versus Falcons, it's New Orleans versus Atlanta. Yeah. And once you learn that, like that's the rivalry, the assignment is no, like let's go do this. And during my time here, it was between the Falcons and Saints competing for the NFC South, and just those games were always classic games, but you get into a game like this, and it's just different in the locker room. This locker room still has guys like Cam and DeMario. They understand what the rivalry is like, and you pass it down generation to generation.
Yeah, and you can see from the tailgates, the restaurants. Yeah. I mean, the Falcons. I actually saw an Atlanta second line on Bourbon Street yesterday. Yeah. I'm like, since when do they start second line in Atlanta? Yeah. But I saw it. So the fans are excited. I would imagine both teams are excited because this adds a little zest to what has been a season that hasn't turned out the way either team would have hoped, but there's something really big to play for here in the division in a rivalry game. So let's start to break down the matchups, and I think for Atlanta, it starts with Bijan Robinson and the Saints having to deal with him.
There's no doubt. There's a lot of talk, about Cousins going to be the quarterback. They have lots of injuries on defense, but they can still be in any game with Bijan Robinson. This guy is an elite player, arguably the top running back in the league. I mean, you can make that case for him. And it's not so much what he does with the ball when they turn around and hand it off to him. It's what he does in the passing game. He's going to be targeted 6 to 10 times in the passing game, so you have to be able to cover him in space. That's really what it's about. He's going to get yards. He's a talented player. It's about limiting those yards once he gets the ball in his hand and tackling him in space, which is hard to do.
Yep, he's currently 7th in the NFL in rushing, but 3rd in scrimmage yards, to your point. So they like to get him the ball as much as they possibly can. And so how do the Saints counter that in terms of coverage and in terms of the front 7 limiting them on the ground?
Well, I think you can really load the box. With Drake London out today, you really like the matchup. Saints secondary versus the Atlanta Falcons wide receivers. They're probably going to try to get the ball more to Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, so it's going to be a linebacker safety type coverage game. But really, last week, Kirk Cousins against the Panthers, he averaged 4.2 yards per pass attempt. So it's dink and dunk. They're not taking shots down the field. As a defensive player and a coach, if I know that, I'm packing everybody inside the line of scrimmage and putting 8 guys in the box.
Meanwhile, the Saints have had their issues running the ball. It's been a challenge all season to get the ground game going. They did a really good job against Buffalo, but that's the only game that really stands out where they ran the ball as effectively as they would like to. How do they get that going today against a Falcons defense that's 28th against the run?
And Atlanta, they're 0-7 at any time they trail in a game this year. So they don't handle getting behind early and having to throw the ball. Both teams want to do the same thing. They want to come in and establish the run, get a lead, and make the other team throw. And so when you look at, it's going to be about the run defense. Run defense played really well against a Carolina team who was running the ball all over everybody. So the run defense, I think, today for the Saints sets the tone in terms of how the offense can play.
Okay.
If you can hold Atlanta early and not get down and turn around and hand the ball up, you really like the way the Saints running game came alive against the Carolina Panthers.
How important is it for Alvin Kamara to set the tone?
He's everything. We've been saying for weeks, just run the ball, just run the ball. Well, it's easy to do that if you have a lead and you can play ahead of the sticks. And last, 2 weeks ago against Carolina, that happened. The Saints controlled the terms of that entire game because they didn't get behind. And you can see when Alvin gets the ball in his hand and you can go 4 or 5 yards at a pop and get him involved in the running game, you can wear down this defense. And to me, Carolina's run defense is better than Atlanta. So if you can stick to that script, you have a big advantage today.
Also heard talk this week about how once the Saints got the lead against Carolina, how Taysom Hill was able to effectively end the game.
Yeah.
Those final 5 or 6 minutes, the Saints were able to just pound him and run out the clock. So with Kendre Miller out and the rookie Devin Neal in the lineup, how important is Taysom to the running game as an overall package?
Yeah, Taysom's a vital part of every offensive game plan just because I think of the way he puts a defense on their heels. And we really haven't seen Taysom throw the ball a lot, but he certainly can do that out of the quarterback position. But inside the red zone, when you see number 7 come in the game, it opens up a lot of different possibilities for the Saints offense. So again, it's about staying ahead of the sticks, having success on first down. Don't get into 2nd and long and 3rd and long and put Tyler in a disadvantage. And I think that was the recipe for success against Carolina. If you can do that again against an Atlanta leaky defense, I think you'll see more of Taysom on the field.
So the Atlanta passing defense is really interesting because they rush the passer well, but if you deal with the pressure, the secondary is vulnerable.
Yeah.
So first of all, it comes down to protection for Tyler Shuck because Jalen Walker and James Pierce, the Falcons invested in a pass rush, and it's been working.
Yeah.
And so the protection has to start first, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts up front. You protect the quarterback, and you give him time, let him get into rhythm. And I thought against Carolina, Tyler, you could see the body language and the confidence start to grow in him. Like, I can play at this level, and I can be a really good player. And as the game went along, he continued to exude that body language. But I really like the matchups with Chris Olave on the outside. A.J. Terrell is an outstanding corner. But they have, Billy Bowman's a rookie safety who's out today. The other one is Xavier Watts. He's a rookie safety, so they're young in the secondary at the safety position. I love the matchups on the outside with the Saints receivers versus the secondary.
Okay. Let's talk about the Falcons passing game against the Saints defense because they don't have they don't have Michael Penix Jr. He's got another ACL injury. Kirk Cousins is going to get the start. He didn't have a great start. No. The only time he played this season and started was against the Dolphins, and they lost that game 34-10.
Yeah.
But the thinking was that he didn't have a full week of preparation. They didn't know if it was going to be Penix or if it was going to be Cousins in that game. This week he's had a full week of preparation, but he doesn't have Drake London.
Yeah, that's a huge loss. Huge, because Drake London is a true number 1 receiver, big body receiver, huge catch radius. You can isolate him on people. They don't have that outside, so you really don't have to keep 2 safeties deep a lot. It's going to be more about what Pitts is doing in the pass game. They're going to try to get him the ball. Big day for the linebackers covering him and safeties. And then again, Bijan Robinson's going to get a lot of attempts in the pass game. You can't forget about Tyler Algier. They'll put both those guys on the field at some time, so you have to be ready for Tyler Algier in the run game. But the passing game is going to be centered around Bijan and I think Kyle Pitts today more inside.
So Raheem Morris said that he tailored the game plan this week to Kirk Cousins' style. And you think that means more short and intermediate passes?
I think so, because you look at last week, averaging 4.2 yards per attempt. It was a lot of dink and dunk. But I'll say this, it always scares me to play against backup quarterbacks who have played a lot of football, because you never know if they're going to turn back the hands of time and find that one game, where because veteran quarterbacks, it takes a week of practice. They're going to do things that he does well. I mean, him and Penix are different types of players. I mean, just being a right-handed quarterback versus a left-handed quarterback, it changes some of the rollouts and bootlegs and types of things. So it's about getting pressure on Cousins. That's always been his downfall throughout his entire career. Kirk's had a great career. He's been a really good quarterback, put up a lot of numbers. But when you get after him and rattle him and get his timing off, he struggles.
Yeah, Saints have had trouble with mobile quarterbacks this season. Mm-hmm. They don't have to worry about that as much with Cousins back there. So now with Drake London out, it sounds like the Falcons want to get Darnell Mooney going, the former Tulane star. Who's a deep threat, who can really run. So how do you counter that?
Well, he's a different type of receiver. They'll move him around the field. He'll be in the slot some. So that means you're not going to have your starting corners covering him a lot. It's going to be the nickel defensive backs. Whoever's in that nickel spot, sometimes linebackers in zone, they're going to work that intermediate part of the field. But he brings a different dimension. He has a fast receiver. And it always seemed like, even back in the day when we played Atlanta, you'd worry about Julio Jones and Roddy White, and then it was Harry Douglas, the slot receiver, who would burn you. So I think the advantage today is not having Drake London in there. You know who you have to key on at the wide receiver position.
Okay. Let's get back to the Saints offense and Tyler Shuck. What impressed you most about him at Carolina last week? Or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I just think it was impressive to me. The evolution every single week is you could see growth somewhere, somehow, whether it was getting rid of the ball faster. But I think by the end of that Carolina game, winning was huge. Him playing well was huge because the way he walked around that field, the way he carried himself, you watched a player and said, this guy's starting to figure it out. The light bulb went on. It was a light bulb moment. And once you start doing those things as a young guy, that's a lot of the hump you have to get over in this league. It's saying, it's a grown man's league, but I can play against these guys. And I feel like he arrived at that moment last week against Carolina. Now you want to see him stack performances today and have another good game.
How about those big plays? 62 yards, 52 yards, and 30 yards on completions last week. Downfield plays that we really hadn't seen much earlier this season.
That was the exciting thing about Tyler is you see him in there. He's a big, strong arm guy, and when he rips the ball, it travels far and it travels fast. And I think that element of his game is what excites you the most about him being in there at quarterback. Is the offense isn't so much horizontal as it is vertical. And if you can get Chris deep and get these guys going vertical, you really put a lot of stress on defenses.
All right. And Tyler Shuck benefiting from a week of preparation during the Saints bye week. Kellen Moore pointed out some points of emphasis in his conversation with Aaron Summers this week leading up to the game against the Falcons.
Practice this week.
Yeah, it's been great. Last week, obviously, guys get rejuvenated, recharged in many ways, and so I think our guys have had a few excellent practices, and we're ready to go for a big-time game.
What are a few of the points of emphasis coming out of the bye, self-evaluations that you've been trying to implement in practice?
Yeah, I think there's some formula out there for us to be successful in all three units, and so we got to keep following that roadmap. I think the physicality in which we play in all three phases, running the football, protecting the football, creating turnovers, making plays in special teams.
How important is that run game going to be since there has been some personnel changes in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, certainly that run game is going to have a huge influence on this game. Ours, but certainly theirs as well. And so we got to get the ball running, and we got to do an excellent job of controlling these backs.
Speaking of some of the changes on the other side with the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to be without their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. and Drake London. How does that change your scout?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a challenging task. The fortunate thing for them is they have Kirk Cousins, who's played a ton of football in this league and had a ton of success. And so Kirk's going to do an excellent job of operating their system, putting them in really good positions. We got to create pressure and push the pocket.
When you look at somebody like Bijan Robinson and his ability to just gain ground very easily, what's the focus there, and where does it start?
Yeah, it's going to be playing really good together, all 11 playing together on defense, and then the tackling. The tackling's going to be huge. He makes plays when you miss a tackle and creates explosives because of it. And so it's going to happen in the run game and the pass game, so it's going to be a challenge for all four quarters.
Defensively, the Falcons have done a good job getting to the quarterback, putting some pressure on up front, and it's led to their ability to shut down the pass game. How do you counteract what they're able to do there?
Yeah, I think putting yourself in favorable situations is important. What you do on first and second down has a lot to say with your third down situations. That's a really good pass rush. We're going to have awareness to it, do some things schematically to be conscious of it, but it'll be a great test for us.
You mentioned being more aggressive. Does that mean trying to get more takeaways, trying to force more turnovers in that regard?
Well, I think turnovers are a huge path to winning football games, and so we got to do an excellent job of that on defense. We got to protect it on offense while still being aggressive.
It is Rivalry Week. I know you've been asked about it. Is there anything that stands out to you from a fan or a player, something that's been said to you about this Falcons game?
Well, I think you quickly realize that the guys who've been here, that have been through this experience for a number of years, you can feel it. It's a different week. It's a different kind of week, different challenge. It'll be a ton of fun. Obviously, it's 56 and 56. We're tied right there on the season, total over all these years, and so this will be a fun one.
Yeah, you know a thing or two about it already. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
We are back here at Caesars Superdome. Saints getting ready to take on the Falcons this afternoon, and it's time to visit with our special guest, legend of the game, Jimmy Graham, back here. Jimmy, it's great to see you, man.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me up here.
Absolutely.
What's it feel like being back here, a place where you had so much success, gave the fans so many thrills?
Yeah, for me, it's honestly, it feels like coming back home. It's I became a man in the city. This is a city that believed in me when, a lot of people didn't believe in this red-headed basketball player. Gave me a lot of opportunities, which I took hold of. And so, coming back here, being able to be here for such a special game like Atlanta, which is always near and dear in my heart to to whoop them.
Break their goalposts if
always,
necessary.
always. So, it's definitely good back to be home.
I think it's really cool that Jimmy considers this something. He played for, Seattle had a lot of success, Chicago Packers, other teams had a lot of success, but he's still black and gold. And my Jimmy Graham story is I covered this guy every day of OTAs when he was a rookie, coming off the basketball court. And so I'm jamming up the line of scrimmage, and my linebackers coach said, "Is this guy ever going to figure it out?" I said to my linebackers coach, "Joe, when he figures out how to get off the press, he's going to be a problem." And he was. He was the best tight end in the league for a number of years after that. And so Jimmy made a lot of us better. We used to call it Jimmy Graham Fridays because he would score on us every Friday. But what are your memories? You had a long, great career. What differentiates the Saints organization from all those other organizations you played for?
For me, I was here during also a very special time. Y'all just won the Super Bowl, obviously.
Yeah.
Big old ring sitting there.
It's one of my biggest regrets is we didn't get this guy in Cam a Super Bowl in 2011.
And so what was special about this place was the leadership. I came into an opportunity where I had unbelievable people to really guide me.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about the game. I didn't even know the rules, yet I had such great examples, like yourself, like Jonathan Vilma, like our safeties, like Drew Brees, like Marcus Colston. Everywhere I looked was a leader. So that's what made it special for me and how I grew so quickly. But truly, what makes this franchise so special is the community.
Yeah.
This is a religion here. People love it, and as the Saints do, the city flourishes. So it's much bigger than yourself here.
Yeah.
It's more about the community. It's more about the city, more about our fans.
Yeah. And I think Drew said it best. He told Zion, if you love New Orleans will love you back.
Yeah,
it's absolutely true. This guy, I remember him sitting around pregame meals at night with all the vets and this young rookie sitting there just soaking it all in. And you kind of look back at him like, this guy gets it and he wants to be great in this league. And just those little things you always remember.
What was that relationship like with Drew Brees in terms of helping your development?
Yeah, it truly was special. One, the amount of time we spent after practice, or even before practice, or even during the season. Me, him, and Marcus Colston, we were running about 10 routes after practice. It was really being able to see greatness, how he prepared, how he studied. And then your biggest thing when you got on the field is you didn't want to disappoint him, right? And the way not to disappoint him, the way not to be nervous is you prepare just like him. It was, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to have that type of connection with a quarterback. That takes time. That takes many, many hours, many, many routes. And from us from day one to the last was absolutely special. And truly, I became what I became because of him and because of the leadership that we had.
And the trust factor that goes back and forth between a receiver and a quarterback. And for us, we were there to witness it between you and Drew. It's like, man, this is a dynamic duo. It was tough to stop. Was there a moment early in your career, like I told everybody kind of how I saw you evolve into the great player you were. Was there a moment early on in your career where you're like, man, I'm going to take this league by storm?
I had
San Fran game, 49ers game, like you took
2011, that touchdown in that playoff game.
Yeah, well, I definitely thought that was my moment.
Oh yeah.
I think if we would have won that game, I'd be sitting here.
We would have Super Bowl. Yes.
With the ring on my ring finger. I think that whole season, because that off season we didn't do anything because we had the lockout.
Yep.
So we didn't train together. We did nothing together. And I was going to be the starter going into that season. So, I had to learn so much, and a lot of it on my own. So once that season started, man, I was just so focused, and it just seemed like each game things just got easier and easier. And then I started to realize, like, wait, I'm just bigger, faster, and stronger than most of these guys.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
and can jump.
And can jump. And I was like, I was absolutely shocked because I came from basketball, came to football, went to Miami. We had so much speed. And when you're in this league, there's speed everywhere.
Yeah.
But then when you realize all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like I'm big speed.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are scared of me. That's kind of when I figured it out.
It just takes little plays for you to get confidence, kind of like Tyler Shuck's doing. Your body language changed after you made a few plays.
100%.
Yeah.
Just in him, you can see the confidence.
Yeah.
Even I think last week you could see it to where he got to his third read. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
A rookie quarterback that goes from 1-2 to 3 and hits that 3.
The game slowed down for him.
That is rare.
Yeah.
So, as he continues to grow, as he continues to get these little moments, he's going to get that confidence and continue to flourish.
And now you've retired to the couch. Just joking. He's got 10 pilot licenses. And if that's not enough adventure, he's also rowing across the Arctic Sea. What?
584 nautical miles. I don't know what that means, but it sounds far.
It did it in 10 days in record time.
Yeah.
What possesses a man to row across the Arctic Ocean?
Well, one, I did it from a Navy SEAL boy. But two, when I came back to the Saints, the place that I went up to was right across from the Covenant House. And I told my foundation, hey, before we leave here, I want to make sure I do something for them. that something ended up being rowing across the Arctic Ocean, and we're able to raise money for them, funds for them, to support the kids in there. They support 500 homeless youth in New Orleans. And so, this city's given me so much, and the least I could do was risk my life rowing across an ocean for these kids. And, it was a truly special moment. I just recently went to the Covenant House and spoke with all the kids, and, something I'll never forget.
All right. Hey, and fans will never forget you either.
I appreciate
Enjoy today, man. You've earned it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And
all right.
Beat those Falcons,
All right. All right.
Falcons hate week.
I guess we'll see you for the Who Dat chant?
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay. All right. All right. Jimmy Graham joining us here on Saints Game Day Live. Offensive line going to be a big part of the story today. And Luke Fortner, the Saints center, spoke with Aaron Summers in our What's Brewing Player Spotlight presented by Community Coffee.
Welcome to What's Brewing, presented by Community Coffee, alongside center Luke Fortner. I'm Aaron Summers, here to find out what's brewing with our new starting center. How has it been transitioning into that role here?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's been crazy, but super exciting, obviously. I've had a lot of help in the offensive line room and the coaching staff and all of that, so it's been exciting.
Well, congratulations are in order, because you did tell me you did something pretty special over the bye week. So you got to fill us in on how it all went down.
Yeah, I got married on the bye week. Got married to my wife, Trudy, and we had our parents down, and my dad did the ceremony. It was really special.
A really special moment, especially because your dad was so influential in your football career, somebody that nudged you back into it early on.
Absolutely. I had quit, and I was playing baseball, and ran over the catcher at home plate, and he said, got thrown out of the game, and on the way home, he's like, let's just try one more time. Let's put the pads on. If you still don't like it, then I understand, but here we are.
Yeah, you do like hitting people, or at least blocking people.
Definitely,
holding
yeah.
a line.
Absolutely. I love being a part of the line, kind of one of five, and shouldering the blame or the success. It's in a unique position, but I love it.
How has that relationship between you and quarterback Tyler Shuck developed throughout the season?
Yeah, we got a lot of chances early to kind of work together in scout team and take some chances on some things that you wouldn't normally do during a game. And being able to do that early, I think, was super helpful. That now, when there's no do-overs, we kind of know how each other react and what he's going to say, what I'm going to say. So it's been great.
This is your second team that you played for in the NFL. What stands out about the Saints?
Yeah, the people, whether it's the fans, whether it's the people in the facility, taking care of you, the equipment staff, the training staff, the people making the food. I mean, everyone here is all in on the Saints, and you can tell that they are all in on making sure the players succeed.
This weekend, we're back in the Dome against the Atlanta Falcons. People are going to tell you how they feel about them, and it's usually not good. So what is your first impression of that rivalry, or what are you looking forward to about being a part of it?
Yeah, I think any rivalry game or any NFL game, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of energy, and I think it's just really fun, and want the Saints to come out on top, and I think it's going to be an exciting game.
Good momentum going into the bye week. How do you carry that into this next game?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's definitely tough coming off a win, and then you have a week off. But yeah. I think it was a great opportunity to reflect on some things we had done well or hadn't done well in the first half of the season. So I think pairing the mentality of, okay, we had a great game, especially as an offensive line playing the Panthers. Now let's pair some things that we didn't necessarily do a great job in the first half of the season. I think together it'll be a recipe for success.
Favorite thing to do outside of football?
Ooh, video games.
Which one?
Yeah, currently been playing Arc Raiders. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Have no idea what that is.
That's all right. Yep. Great game. Love it. Yeah.
And you're killing it, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, perfect. Well, you are definitely killing it on the field. We appreciate you being here and, obviously loving the Saints and the fan base as much as you do. So thank you, and I appreciate hopefully what's going to be a win this weekend.
I love it. Thank you. This
has been What's Brewing with Center Luke Fortner. Thanks for joining us.
All right, we're back here at Caesars Superdome, moving closer to kickoff between the Saints and the Falcons. Scott, we have to talk red zone before we wrap up here, because that's been a continuing concern for the Saints. Last in the league at converting red zone trips into touchdowns at just 38.5%. What's the answer to that?
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, Atlanta has had a good string of scoring when they get the red zone. So yes, I think
10 straight times. The last 10 trips to the red zone, Falcons have converted.
So they've had a lot of success. Saints haven't. This is the key to today's game. Turnovers, all those things are third down. Those things are all important, but it's once you get inside that 20, it's about scoring touchdowns. The team that does that better will win today's game. Get inside the 20 and score touchdowns. Make the other team chase you by throwing the ball more than they want to.
Okay, so you've got Taysom Hill. That's been one of the answers in the red zone. Devon Vele, the Saints are waiting for that to pay off. He's big body, big frame. Do you see him getting more involved now, especially with Shaheed gone now, Brandon Cooks released?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think you trade a fourth-round pick for him. He's a big-bodied receiver. You don't have a whole lot of big-bodied receivers. Take advantage of those matchups, not only just in the red zone, but out in third down in those situations. Get him matched up in situations that you like. Take advantage of his catch radius. And I think after the bye week, you'll see more targets going towards Vele.
Yep. Mason Tipton could also be a factor in the passing game. We've seen him do good things in the preseason. Hasn't transferred over to the regular season yet, but now's the time.
Absolutely. You look at these other receivers, they're going to have an opportunity to step up. You're without Cooks. Shaheed was traded, so there's more opportunities for more receivers on this team. No matter who the quarterback is, Jawan's been a big target for this offense. I think Coach Moore likes to get the tight ends involved. So I think when you look at 10 targets a game to Chris, you can't go wrong. Find Jawan in the middle of the field against these linebackers for the Atlanta Falcons who struggle in coverage.
All right, let's take a look at the inactives for today's game. One notable player for the Saints is Talis Fuaga. Fuaga and Kelvin Banks Jr. have been such a great tandem at tackle. What do they do with Fuaga out today?
Yeah, I think it's tough. You got to keep running the football. I think that's how you minimize not having Talius in there more than anything. Is he's an outstanding pass protector. If you can still run the ball, you eliminate missing him a little bit more. But no doubt a big loss. But on the bright side, after the last couple of years, that's a pretty short list of inactives as far as starters.
Yeah.
The injuries are down. You're not missing a ton of starters, so I think that's a huge advantage coming off a bye week. You just want to continue to see that success roll in. Carry some over from 2 weeks ago and that winning feeling, because it certainly feels good to have a winning locker room.
Yep. And Atlanta's a mash unit right now. They've got a ton of guys out, beginning with Penix and London, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and also on the defense side, if you looked at the injury report this week, they had about 10 defensive guys on there either resting, and some of the guys are out. Mentioned Billy Bowman, their rookie safety out of Oklahoma, who's been a really good player for them. He's going to be a big loss. So it's about taking advantage of those things when you get them. You don't often get a team this banged up. You got to take advantage of it.
Yep. Saints have won 5 of the last 7 against the Falcons, and the 2 wins for the Falcons have come in Atlanta. So really good streak going here at the Superdome. Saints hoping to continue it today in a rivalry game. Fans are ready. Let's hope the team is ready. Saints and Falcons kickoff coming up in just a few minutes here from Caesars Superdome. Thanks for joining us today on Saints Game Day Live.